What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups Station. It's time for Rockin Robbie Live With, and whenever we do Rockin Robbie Live With, we're going to get 2 special appearances. In fact, 3, because we get a special appearance from the Brianiac in his puke-colored room. What's up, Brian?
Station. Hey, everybody. I don't know. Just excited.
Yes, we're excited to be here, as well as I'm sure you are, PCP Army. Thank you so much for being here, because we're about to bring in one of my favorite writers of the last several years. In fact, this man is the co-creator of one of my favorite books on shelves today, and has been for the last like 4+ years, whatever. Wasted Space. Everybody give a mad hearty station to Michael Moreci.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going great. Thank you so much for being here. We're big fans of your work, and we've been very excited to have you on and chat with you for a long time.
Yeah, likewise. I feel like this is like so long overdue. We've been, you and I have been talking for years, man.
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time at this point. Never physically. This is the first time face-to-face in a way. So I really like that. So thank you for coming on. I am such a fan of Wasted Space. It has gripped my attention from the very first issue, and it has not let up. And now we're nearing the end of it, and that's sad. So I don't want to talk about that right now. So what I want to first talk about is your new book from Vault, Barbaric, because me and Brian have read the first issues. We love it. I think this is going to be a huge hit. Most people that read this book, I think, are going to love it. Tell us a little bit about Barbaric.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And thanks for reading it. I'm glad. I was wondering, I feel like you're always such a good gauge of, my work because you like it, but also just your thoughts on, we share a similarity of books that we really love. So when I see you like a book, I'm like, oh, okay, Robbie likes it. Okay, this is going to be a good one. But speaking of Barbaric, so Barbaric is a story also with Vault, like Wasted Space, and it is about a barbarian, Owen the Barbarian, which has a familiar ring to it, but it's Owen the Barbarian, who is a barbarian of a very archetypal mold, who has a certain particular twist to his story. And his story is that he's cursed by witches to always do the right thing. He always has to be a good person in some way, shape, or form. And his moral compass, the one who kind of adjudicates his decisions for who he inflicts justice on, which is usually violence, mayhem, and murder, is Axe, who is literally a talking, bloodthirsty axe. And Axe has the certain condition of he gets drunk on blood. So the more violence that he has Owen inflict, he gets more drunk. And as we all know, as you're having a beer, I'm actually having a beer as well. Your judgment gets a little impaired the more you drink. And so Axe's judgment gets impaired the more he drinks and the more he craves, violence, mayhem, and murder. So what starts off as a moral compass gets a little shaky the further it goes into inflicting its punishments on whoever Owen is inflicting upon. But yeah, I mean, that's the premise of the book. That's about it. So they get to it. They just go around getting into adventures like any good, sorcery D&D type comic in the mold of obviously Conan and stuff like that. They get to violent, sexy adventures, and it's just a blast. I love making it. Nate Gooden's the artist. He's insanely good.
Yeah, the art's great. The story is so freaking wild. And you're right, dude. It is just a sexy, fun, and violent and gory good time. It's got so much just bloody action. It's got beautiful people in all kinds of ways. It's just such a fun freaking book. I was not ready for how fun this book was going to be. And a lot of your work is fun, but like, bruh, it was a ride, and I'm ready. I'm ready for everything.
Well, that's awesome, man. Like, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, Robbie had sent it to me, and like 20 minutes later, I just wrote back, "Holy shit!" I mean, I was like, I've got better words, but that was just my first reaction, because it was a wild ride, and the humor in it was amazing. And I thought that the Owen actually, I wonder if he's actually developing his own compass, because he was figuring some things out. I mean, I don't know, with the like judgments he was carrying out and everything like that. I don't know. It was a great time. And that Nate is a great artist. Oh man, that some of the stuff just jumped off.
Tremendous. I mean, we've been wanting to work together for a while, and we finally connected. And I'm glad we didn't before, because there's a couple of projects we kicked around that just, they just weren't quite right. And we think we found the perfect one with this, and he's really brought a different dimension to it. I think what's so great about what Nate brings, and the same thing, we share a similar aesthetic, and something about what you guys are talking about, something that I talk about a lot with this book, is that this is a book that, like, to me, I was like, making this, I'm like, I want to do the thing that I don't see comics doing anymore. It's like that silver age of just shit's just going to happen. Like, that's it. Like, just shit is going to happen, and we're just going to go where the next thing takes us. Like, I had to kind of retrain my own brain, because I gotten so used to like a certain kind of structure, a certain kind of expectation, setting things up, knocking them down, et cetera, like how most modern comics do. There's a certain DNA that it shares with TV shows now, that it's kind of evolved to be that way. And I'm guilty of this as well. But like, I wanted to kind of, totally tear apart those expectations and that kind of standard, and say, let's go back to how comics were, this bombast of just stuff happening, big, loud, in your face. Let's just go and rip. And that's just been the goal, like, that is just like, I threw everything I kind of knew out the window and started from scratch, and with this issue and with the story. And Nate was there alongside me every step of the way, coming up with great ideas, contributing, building the story out, making it bigger, making it better. And it's a testament to how great he is, how creative and talented he is. Because this book wouldn't be what it is without it. It was a big chance. Like I said, while it is something vintage and something old, it's also something new. And it was a risk in a certain way, and he really took that risk and ran with it.
Hell yeah. And it's the perfect book for Vault too, because Vault just keeps spreading out the type of books they're doing. I love the fact of this industry. There's so many types of comic books. There's literally a comic book for everybody's taste. And Vault is now got their hands in every single genre. And this is, like you said, a slam bang fun throwback, but it still feels fresh. It still feels new. And I just, such a great book. The FOC, I think, is this Monday coming up. Let your shop know it. I know my shop, we're ordering heavy on it, because we have a lot of faith in this book that the majority of our customers are going to love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. And yeah, FOC, it's fun. It's, I'll tell you what, just to do the plug, it's June 7th, which is my birthday. That's why I know. So if everyone wants to get me a birthday present, go to your shop, go talk to Robbie, and just order it, because I want to do this book forever. I want this to be, and I've said this before, and I will keep saying, I want this to be my Hellboy. I want to do this for 20 years, nice. and so does Nate. So as long, we're a market-driven economy. So as long as the economy, the economic side of this works, we'll keep doing it, and we'll keep doing it forever. And I feel good about it. I don't know about 20 years, but I feel good about at least, a couple more arcs, so that's a good start.
Nice. Y'all are gonna love this book, and there is a Conan the Barbarian #1 homage cover that is worth it alone. So in fact, buy 2 copies. Hell, buy 3, buy 4. Keep this book going. It is totally worth it, right, Brian?
Hell yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was gonna ask about the homage cover, so I haven't seen any of them. So it's gonna be out the Conan.
Yeah, it's the Barry Windsor, Smith. That is who it is, right? Is that who? Am I getting that wrong? No, it's got to be. Yeah,
I think it is. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, it has to be for Conan 1. It had to be him. So it's that homage of the iconic Marvel, Conan #1. So that's the homage, and there's a black bag variant, and a few more. I forget who. Derek Robertson's doing one. Derek Robertson was like one of my idols. You look at you look at a books I love are often, Transmet, The Boys. Like he's been behind powerful voice. Speaking of like Nate, powerful voice on the art side behind so many great books that I love that share the DNA. I'm a big Garth Ennis fan. I think most people can figure that out, and he's been part of that, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super freaking awesome. Let's speaking of big Garth Ennis fan, obviously you got a book that's inspired by two loves of yours, I believe, Preacher and Star Wars, and that's Wasted Space. A book that does not waste space. I adore this book. You and Hayden, Jason, and Jim knock every single issue out of the park. It's about to embark on its final arc. How's that make you feel? What's coming up? What can we expect?
Well, it makes me feel, start there, pretty sad, to be honest. You know, like, I've written it all. It's done. I'm done, at this point, which is a bummer. And it was tough. It was tough. I had held on. I had it all mapped out. I've had it mapped out for a long time, but I held on to those last two issues, 24 and 25, for as long as I could, avoiding having to write them just because I didn't want to stop. This book has been with me. You know, it's funny. You know, working with Vault and working with this book, I think is where I really, like, I've said this before to people and I mean it, like, if I discovered my voice, you know, Wasted Space kind of cracked open my career. It's like, okay, Vault gave me the permission and the support, and the nudge to kind of do this kind of thing that I like to do, this irreverent, violent, sexy, throwing ideas, just going big in every kind of sense of the word big. And Wasted Space was a star of that, and Barbaric is an extension of that. And it's such a part of, like, when I look back at my career, this is Wasted Space will be I think one of the best, if not the best thing I've ever done. You know, and at least the thing I'm most proud of. And I also think that it'll be like the turning point, one of the, like, defining things I've ever done. As for what to expect, you know, I'll be honest. I think people are going to be surprised by the ending. I think this is where I've always wanted to go. I think it's going to be tough. I think people are going to be surprised by the things that happen, especially in those last two issues. Are take you some really kind of deep emotional places that are going to be hard. I think hard for readers to navigate. Not in a bad way, but I think it's just going to be. I think it's the inevitable point for these characters to go. I think it's the most honest point for the characters to go. But it's also, I don't want to give anything away, but there's going to be some surprises. I think that things are going to happen that I don't think people expect to happen.
Nice. That's what I wanted to hear, Michael. So thank you so much. I am sad to see it go. I have fallen in love with these characters, Billy and everybody else. Like, this book is wild. It's irreverent. It's sexy. It's adventurous. It's action packed. It's got so much wacky stuff in it that's just so intriguing. So many ideas, but it's got this root in the characters, in their, you know, Billy's desire or lack of desire to be a better person, and his struggle, and how he has these relationships with these other people, and how that reflects. And there's a lot of, like, philosophy in this book, and from all different angles of all different experiences. And I just love that you said that the ending is honest, because this book to me feels so freaking honest, and one of the most honest and wild books out there. It's always a fun ride, bruh. Thank you for making it.
Oh, well, thank you for reading, and thank you for saying that. I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I've always been honest, you know, if sometimes painfully so. You know, Billy is not me, but also very much me. I think especially in some of his the darker tendencies and the things that he struggles with. There's things that I often struggle with in terms of, you know, like you mentioned, the philosophy. A lot of it has to do with coming to terms with the mistakes you've made, you know, coming to terms with an imperfect world, coming to terms with an imperfect self that you are, you know. And I think that's something that I struggle with. I know it's something that I struggle with. And I think it's something that a lot of people do, and Billy does. And it never shies away from, when you're writing a book or making a book about someone being imperfect, sometimes that person, that character, and those characters, especially Billy, have to do things that you don't like, you know, and they have to say things that you don't like, and they have to make you uncomfortable. And there's been times I've written stuff that people have written to me and told me that they didn't like that, and that made them uncomfortable. And I feel bad in a way, but I'm also like, you know what? That is true to Billy. And while I don't maybe endorse the things that he thinks or says, that's who his character is. He's imperfect, like us all. And if you want to write imperfect characters, sometimes the imperfections are things that you're not going to like, you know. And that's true for all of us, friends, family. You know, we're all imperfect, and there's all stuff about each other we don't like. And to a certain degree, with limits, of course, you have to learn to embrace those things. And that's part of what Wasted Space really is, you know, like, it's just like, it's a book about imperfection, book about a lot of things. And that's something that was important to me from the start. And I think it came across pretty well. And I think it carries through, like I was saying, to the end. It remains honest, at least, you know, if nothing else.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Cause I was glad you were saying that. I did miss the first issue when it came out. Robbie was telling me to pick it up. I go to the shop he manages. And by the time I, went to go get it, I think I have the second printing with the action cover, Action Comics, I think variant, which is, I'm okay with having that second printing because that's a pretty dang awesome cover. But I just wanted to jump in on that. One thing I like about Wasted Space is I can not read it, for like a couple months, pick an issue up and know exactly where kind of everything is. And every issue also has like, leaves me thinking after I put it down. You know what I mean? It's not like something happens in every issue. And I think that's a really awesome, way you pull that off. And yeah, when you were talking about the disappointments there, I was like, yeah, how he behaves and stuff. I put it down and been like, wow, man, he was like just there, but then it's like, oh man, come on, vast disappointment there. So, but yeah, it's I love that book, and yeah, I'm really eager to see eager and a little sad to see it, come to an end. But another one of my favorite books by you is the Plot. Which actually has a similar thing. It's on, it's 8 issues, but every one is a really powerful one. I was wondering, what was can you give us some insight on how that one came about and what the influences were that got you to into that story?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. Thank you, and thanks for the kind words as well on Wasted Space. So the Plot. It's fun. It's funny because as we're sitting here talking about Wasted Space and Barbaric, which are sci-fi and fantasy, it's funny because while I do love Star Wars, like I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Like I can't say because I don't know enough. I'm not educated enough to be like I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I love sci-fi. Don't get me wrong, but like my knowledge comparative to other people, I'm sure is very limited. So I can't. But horror. I thoroughly know horror. I'm a huge, huge horror fan. Horror novels, movies, comics. I love horror. So Plot, and I've done other horror books before, but the Plot comes from like a natural kind of inclination of mine, just, fundamentally of being like, I want to do horror. So the Plot kind of started in a place, Tim Daniel, who I co-wrote it with, had sent me an image of like this tree, this dark tree made out of skeletons and something, a tagline about family secrets or something like that. And he's like, hey man, because we had done 2 other horror books together, Curse and Burning Fields, both at Boom. And he sent me this thing and this image with this something, I forget the tagline. And he was like, what do you think? Do you got something with this? And I was like, immediately I was like, yes, I don't know what yet, but I know I do. You're not thinking about it, and what that eventually evolved into the Plot. And the reason I kind of wrote that, if we're talking about, we're looking at this thing we mentioned about voice and really kind of discovering that with Wasted Space. As odd as it sounds, the Plot is an extension of that. Now the voice is very different. It's a very different book, tonally, structurally, story, character, everything. I can't imagine something more different than Wasted Space and Plot. But at the same time, I feel like that is very much my voice, and I feel like it is very much by far the most like intimate and emotional book I've ever written. It's very much informed by my history with my own family, my own past. In a metaphorical way. There's no bog monsters, at least none that I know of, in my my family tree, but like it's very much me, like Wasted Space, like just fully embracing what I do and like who I am and that kind of stuff. So we crafted this story about this family that's troubled. Similarly, speaking of Barbaric, similar with a curse, and really, while there's a monster, and we show the monster a lot, and there's, I think, to me, a great monster mythos in it. You know, it's a haunted house with monster mythos, which is something that's pretty unique. And I think the mythos are pretty cool and original. Really, the story is about this family. It's about the story about these families struggling to communicate, about this family struggling to unite, about this family struggling to reconcile with the past. And that's really the beating heart of it. And that's the stuff that resonates most with me because it's the most intimate and emotional thing for me. So it came with this really cool concept that Tim and I developed over time. And the intimate stuff and emotional stuff, Tim very much, you know, gels with as well and feels the same. So it started with this big concept, which I think is one unique, and what I think really made it, you know, pop for both of us was evolving it through this really kind of like personal and intimate story, and that's what it became over those 8 issues. And I think that's where it, again, Robbie, you mentioned characters. Characters are at the forefront of that book, and that's what led it through those 8 issues.
The plot is amazing. I'm curious, how does it like working with Tim? Because Tim, first of all, is a brilliant artist. He's a great creator. And we've heard from people in the industry, like Liana Kangas said, that like he's like a mentor. Like he's just such a powerful figure to young creators. And that's got to be cool. And like you're like old school friends with him. You guys have done work together before. Did we lose Michael? There you go.
Yeah, sorry. We slowed down for a second. No,
you're fine.
Sorry. We like froze for a minute. I think we're okay.
Okay, good. So basically what's it like working with
Tim and I it's great. Tim and I have been friends for a long time. I'm trying to think of like, when did Curse come out? Oof, I can't remember the year, to be honest. 2016, maybe, you know, maybe a little bit before that. No, it had been before, maybe 2014.
It says 2015 for the trade.
Weirdly enough, we met at a panel. 2015, is it? Okay.
That's what it says there. I don't know if I trust it, but that's what it says.
There you go.
That book's amazing, y'all. You need to read it if you haven't, by the way.
Oh, I love Curse. That's a book for me. But yeah, we met. We met at San Diego Comic-Con, and we were both on the same image panel. I think Hoax Hunters was coming out at the time, and he was doing enormous. No, it couldn't have been enormous. I forget what he was. But we were part of this panel. Who was it? Alice Cott, Ed Brisson, and Curtis Weeb, I believe, was the panel.
Nice. And
we started talking there, and I was at the image booth. Yeah, it was a great panel. Talk about, you know, throwback. Jeez Louise. Yeah, we just kicked it off. We just, you know, really hit it off. You know, we were both at the image booth doing our various things all San Diego Comic-Con weekend, became buddies. Started, you know, just talking on the phone, emailing, kick around ideas. And, you know, eventually the evolution of that was Curse. And then we did Burning Fields. Yeah, it's great working with Tim. You know, Tim brings something so unique to the table because he has something that most writers, myself included, don't, is that he just has this really practiced and trained visual eye. He's a great writer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but like what he can construct visually, because he's a strong artist. It's just I don't know, legendary. I don't want to say legendary, he's still alive, but like an important designer, a great designer, and he has sensibility that most writers don't have. And the way he can attack a page and kind of collaborate with an artist, like he did with Josh. Him and Josh worked really, really tightly on the plot. We all did, but they had their thing kind of going between the two of them, which is awesome. The way he did that is very unique and very different than a lot of writers do and can do. The best partnerships are about, you know, complementing each other. And Tim complimented me, and I think I complimented him in ways. And that's what makes it work. You know, if you bring similar skill sets, two similar skill sets, it doesn't work. You know, if you bring two oppositional skill sets, it also doesn't work because then you just fight all the time. You need to be, you know, those complementary pieces, and Tim does with what he does so well, and it's pretty great to have that. It's like I said, unique and unusual, but immensely valuable.
All right. And you worked with him on Revealer, right? Like that's Tim Seeley that you wrote Revealer with. Tell us about that. You wrote a movie.
That's
homie.
Seeley. That's Seeley. Yeah, so that's a whole new thing. That's me and Seeley. Seeley and I have been best friends for even I've known Seeley for years. A long time. We live near each other. We see each other all the time. Tim's, one of my best friends in the world. One of the greatest guys around too. Just a great comic writer, great comic artist. A great ambassador of comics. And I'm talking about all this comic stuff, and they'd be like, "Hey, then we made a movie." But we did, and we wrote Revealer, and Revealer was I don't know, one of the coolest experiences of my life and my career, to be honest. It was an extraordinary opportunity that came out of an extraordinary time. It was in the mix, I don't want to say the very beginning of the pandemic, of COVID. And basically what happened was we have a friend, Luke Boyce, who's a tremendous director and a great friend of ours, great guy, immensely talented and creative. And basically he has friends who are film producers. Luke is the director of Revealer. Friends who are producers who basically, long story short, were like, "Hey, we see a way, while all other team is shut down, we see a way to make movies. We see a way to go out and we can do this in this way. And we can do it smart. We can do it cheap. I don't say it is cheap. We could do it safe, and we can do it in a very, intelligent, good way." And they were looking for stuff. So he went to Seeley and I were like, "Sure, let's throw our hat in the ring," and we did. We pitched Revealer. We pitched a few things, Revealer being one of them. And Revealer was taken. They went with it, and it was incredible. I couldn't believe it. We were off to the races. We wrote. I mean, our pitch was a page, 2 pages, maybe maximum, for this feature film, 90 minutes. And 2 pages is basically like a step above a scribble on a cocktail napkin, And so they're like, "Okay, go write a script." And we wrote a script in 8 days, from like this 2-page nothing, to a complete feature film script in 8 days. It was wild. It was nuts. Like, I still can't believe we did that. We did. And granted, it evolved after that. We had producers notes. Luke had notes. We had, great collaborators, and we edits and revisions and evolutions. And even on set, we were changing stuff because we discovered with our limitations, especially particularly with COVID, there's just stuff we could not do. There's also safety stuff. I could tell you this because it wasn't in the movie. There's a scene where so it takes place in a peep show, as I'll say in a second, where the peep show booth's on fire. Nice. And like one of the producers was like, "You are not setting this this wooden box on fire with human beings in it." So we're like, fair. So
fair
we changed that. So we learned a lot. Yeah, right. I mean, it's like a closet. Like, we're not engulfing this in flames and having our lead actress inside. So we were off and running. We wrote Revealer. It's shot really fast, and basically it's a movie. It's a type of horror movie that I like, a subgenre that I personally love. It's the single location. Although this is kind of 2 locations, I guess you can say. It's like one big location, I guess you could say, because they're connected. But yeah, it's a single location horror. There was one I just watched. It was something called Jane Doe. It was Emile Hirsch was in it, Brian Cox. Oh, I can't remember the title. I was gonna say, great movie. But anyway, so it's single location horror, and it's about 2 women who, this takes place in 1980s Chicago. It's the height of satanic panic, at this cult cultural moment. And basically these two women, one of which is a performer at the Peep Show Revealers is the name of the club. And one of which is a very strict religious woman, kind of like a Tammy Faye Baker type, I guess you could say. And they get trapped together in the Peep Show as the apocalypse is raging outside. So everything that, like, you know, satanic pact, basically the happens, and these two unlikely women are trapped inside and have to figure out, what do we do? Where do we go now? And the movie's off and running from there.
Nice. I'm looking forward to checking that one out. And you also had an announcement today, Creepy the Snowman. Why don't you tell us about that? It's from Wonderbound, right? The Vault All Ages imprint.
Today. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Oh boy, Creepy the Snowman. So this is it's a pretty special project for me because I'm writing. I even apprehensive to say I'm writing, and I feel like I'm just kind of moderating it. You know, it's my two sons who are 9 and 6, Noah and Jackson. It's their story. It's their book. You know, I'm just kind of there to put it into a shape and a form, so it's not just utterly unhinged. It is unhinged, but it's not completely unhinged. But basically, the story is born out of. So there's this fucking snowman in our neighborhood that these neighbors, like just down the street from me, put out every year. And I hope they ever discover we wrote the book about their snowman. This thing is terrifying. It's not meant to be terrifying, but it is. It's one of those. It's one of those like. It's one of those like blow up. You know, it's like the inflatable holiday decorations. So it's this giant inflatable snowman that, for some godless reason, blinks, has these huge eyes and blinks, like it's like slowly blinking and like blowing gently in the wind, like it's just judging and gazing at everyone, looking at its next victims. And that became Creepy the Snowman. The premise of this horrifying snowman that and it's not, like I said, it's not meant to be. And that's what makes it even scarier. And so my kids, we always, every Christmas, we see this stupid thing, and we always sing these songs to the tune of Frosty, to be frank, violent and disturbing songs that we sing. You know, and what that, and I didn't know this at the time. There's like an in-school assignment, and I go through his paperwork to see what he's done because the parents have to sign it, bring it back. Well, we've checked it, right? And the song he wrote, this poem, was a Creepy the Snowman poem, which is, I can't remember exactly, but it was wildly inappropriate for the 3rd grade. And he brought it home, and I was like, oh shit, I can't believe you just did this. Luckily, there's no parent-teacher conference because of it. And he brought it home, and I was like, also, as much as I was like kind of mortified, I was also hilarious. And I posted on Twitter. I was like, this is, you know, people responding, like they're like, oh my God, that's amazing and hilarious. And Adrian Wassel from Vault saw it. He's like, dude, if you pitch me a Creepy the Snowman book right now, I will do it. So I was like, I went to the kids and I was like, do you guys want to do a book? Do you want to do a graphic novel about this? And it just went from there. So basically the graphic novel is the story of Creepy the Snowman, the evil snowman who comes to life, the origin story. So also in between, I should throw in, they've also made comics about Creepy the Snowman, and they're going to be in the book. My sons have drawn their own comics. They draw comics all the time, and they drew many Creepy the Snowman comics, like these little. Oh yeah, they're. I wish I could show one. I feel like I have one near, but I'm not sure. But so we were very familiar with Creepy. So Creepy is, you know, now part of our lives. The book's coming out. It's about a snowman that's made from toxic sludge in like a abandoned amusement park on Friday the 13th. And Yeah, it's about him and his pal, who is a fire-breathing chicken, which presents interesting problems for a snowman, having a friend that breathes fire, and it's ludicrous. It's just bonkers, but I love doing it with them. I love just like they'll sit with me and I write. Like I said, I perform, but the ideas they have are crazy. I could never think of this stuff. That's just absolutely nuts. I love it. It's been a joy to work with. I'm working with my sons, but it's also a joy to be like, what are we even doing here? I have no idea. I love it. I know that it's fun and I know that it's working, but I have no idea really what it is.
Oh man. Yeah. That sounds phenomenal. Yeah. I got excited because I saw your tweet yesterday about, this unhinged project you've got. And then my jaw hit the table when I saw you're working with your sons. I mean, that's awesome. That's great. So I did want to ask so did the poem already have the fire breathing chicken in it? Or because I think that was the part I laughed the hardest when I saw the pitch there.
No. No. Okay. So my son Noah's 9 wrote the poem. And as we were developing the story, I don't even know how that my 6-year-old thought of fire breathing chicken, who's named Chicken. So that was a later development. And then Noah thought of the backstory for it, which I can't reveal because it's integral. It's named Chicken. We don't do names here. Owen has an axe. It's named Axe. Creepy has a chicken that's named Chicken. We keep it simple in the Moreci house.
There we go.
But yeah, and Chicken's backstory, which Noah conceived of. So Chicken was Jax's idea. The backstory is Noah's idea, and it's crazy. It's the craziest, weirdest backstory I think in comics history.
Awesome. So, who are you working with on the art? I guess using your son's comics as a template, or whoever's working.
Yeah. So we've kind of they've sent like sketches and stuff like that into our editor, who's actually not Adrian. It's Rebecca Taylor, who's absolutely wonderful and brilliant. And I'm so glad to be working with her. We worked together before in DC, and reuniting now has been pretty awesome. But we sent in the stuff, but we actually don't have an artist yet. The cover image that was released today was actually our good friend Nate Gooden, who from Barbaric. He has a great. I mean, there's nothing he can't do. He has a great.
Yep, I think we lost him again. We're probably frozen to him right now. All right.
Here
we go.
Move. Yeah, we got you.
I see you.
You're okay. You're back now. There you go.
Okay. If you hear me,
we can hear you now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is it working?
It's
like the video's frozen.
Yeah. Oh,
audio
man.
Chops.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. We'll see if he comes back, because we're probably frozen to him right now too. Everybody, Michael Moreci, you need to check out Barbaric. You need to check out Wasted Space. He's done so much other work. He does Star Wars work. He's got this book, BLACKSTAR Renegades, and the sequel, We Are Mayhem. It's fantastic. The plot, Curse, that Barbaric, though, y'all are going to freaking love that book. Trust me. That's really freaking good. Brian read it. What do you think?
Yeah. There's no wasted space in that one either. Every page is just keeps rolling. And yeah, I was laughing out loud at bits of it. I mean, it's amazing first issue. And earlier when he was mentioning that he wants to keep going and everything, that's really exciting. Like, I do like miniseries and everything. I like knowing that, it's going to end, and things like that. But, I don't know. I've been waiting for a good series that doesn't do that, where you just keep reading it from month to month.
Barbaric I could see this. I love that he said he wanted this to be his Hellboy. you know,
Yeah.
and have like, I think that's just y'all. I'm not even trying to oversell this because I'm a fan of Michael's work, and he showed up tonight. We have officially lost him now, so maybe he'll pop back in, but we'll just run around. We'll just keep this going for a little bit longer and see what happens. Right, Brian? But we may have lost Michael. There was obviously some difficulties there, but I think that was a fantastic conversation. I was really ready to dive into like, what are your favorite horror movies? That's what I was about to get into, you know, like, bruh.
Yeah. I'm so surprised that you hadn't already, but yeah. I was all excited about
trying to pace the show out, Brian.
Yeah. I was all excited about that children's book announcement, though. I gotta admit that's awesome. I think that's going to be an awesome project. So
nice. He's trying to come back right now. Oh, okay. Yep. Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
No problem. You know, we've been having an amazing conversation with you regardless. So thank you for coming back. We were just like, well, let's just chat for a while.
Oh yeah. No, it's my internet's awful all the time. So I'm certain it's me.
It's fine. And, you know, we were nearing towards the end of what our time with you anyway, but I did want to ask you a question, and that is, and this is probably a loaded question because you're a horror fan like I am. So when someone asks you this question, you just think of like 30 movies, then you can't think of anything. But what are your favorite horror movies? Like, if I had to guess your taste out of horror movies, like, what would you like? What are your favorites?
Oh gosh, it's like choosing between my children. So I can give, I'm sure, a lot. Like, so like, it's like my roots like go to like, you know, when I first started watching horror, the first things I was introduced to were slashers, you know, which is not really my aesthetic, you know, like, cause it's not really like, I don't love them. Like Seeley, for example, like Seeley's a guy who loves slashers. I mean, he's probably made the best slasher comic of all time with Hack Slash, one of the smartest comics ever. But that's what I grew up on, like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, Texas Chainsaw. Those always will have a really, really near and dear to my heart. But as I've grown, you know, my aesthetic, what I really love, I guess you can say, there's two things that I really love. I mean, there's many things, but I'm looking at many movies, but there's things I really love. It's like gothic horror, and I love like big budget, like haunted house, like classic horror, I guess you can say, which is lack of a better term. Like, I love the Conjuring movies. I love Poltergeist. I love Changeling. I love those like big, like vintage type horror movies a lot. I just adore those movies. But on the other hand, I love like gothic. And this goes back to like my absolute favorite, like that, and the extension. I'll extend that to like Val Lewton's horror movies of like Cat People, Seventh Victim, stuff like that. Which was made as a direct response to the Universal horror movies. So they're kind of like these like weird rival. So I put that and lump that in the kind of same category. But I love monster movies, and those are, you know, the beating heart. I mean, Gothic tradition extends well beyond that, you know, in books, but like in terms of like cinema, that's really kind of what laid the groundwork. Some of the things laid the ground for Gothic horror, and that's now like taken root in so many other things. You look so many other things. You talk about the plot. You know, Hill House from Mike Flanagan is a series, not obviously not a movie, but a series that I adore. I adore that movie. Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite artists in any medium of all time. Critique is one of my favorite movies. Pan's Labyrinth. But I love monster movies. I love big family haunted house movies. I love Guillermo del Toro. And I love those Universal monsters, Gothic, that tradition. I know it's broadened a lot. I could even go more, but those are the stuff that I love. What about you guys? Brian, are you also a horror fan?
I'm being converted I mean, I watched a bunch in the 80s, like kind of similar time frame you were talking about, like Hellraiser and a lot of those, you know, Nightmare on Elm Streets, and I really like those a lot. But recent ones, I have been getting turned on to some of those Italian ones, you know, from talking to Robbie and stuff. But yeah, my favorite recent one though was the Lighthouse. I absolutely love that movie. So, but getting into it.
Yeah. As for myself, Argento,
that's a great movie.
Fulci,
I love that movie too. I'm with you.
Yeah, Argento, Fulci. I love Italian horror. I love anything from the 80s pretty much. John Carpenter, George Romero. The Universal monster movies are also some of my favorites. I would love it if one day someone got the bright idea to call Michael and say, hey, let's do a comic book universe of the Universal monster movies set in the original timeline. Wouldn't that be wild? Hell, call me. I think we lost him again.
Dang it.
Oh, dude, Robbie, like that is my white whale. That is my, oh, am I here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying, that's like my whale, man. That is like, oh, I'm going to take a quick sip of water. That is like my white whale, man. Like, I want to do a comic series that is that. It's like kind of like what Brubaker did with the Fade Out. If you've read that, like with navigating like Hollywood noir and putting an original story into that. I want to do a horror series that is in that period of like the 1930s, the first wave, like 32 to 40-ish, something like that, of Universal horror, and put a comic in that time period. I would, dude, that's it. I'll retire after that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. All right, Brian, it's time for the Brian bit. This is the moment where Brian gets to ask his final question of the night.
Final question. Well, yeah, I don't know. We've covered a lot of ground with the comics and everything. Is there any type of music or anything you listen to while you write or work, or any you use to while you're working and everything?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I I don't listen to music when I write all the time. It depends. Like, it depends on the music. I listen, especially horror. I always listen. I always listen to music when I write horror, because a horror is so perfectly atmospheric that music kind of lends itself to it. But I listen to scores. Like, I listen to a lot of film scores. I have a lot of vinyl of old film scores, which I love. I mean, they're not old; they're old movies that have been re-released on vinyl.
Nice.
I just got the Bride of Frankenstein on vinyl, which is fucking amazing. It's so awesome. I outdoors, you know, we mentioned Conjuring, so listen to that. Del Toro scores, Romero. So yeah, I'm always listening to film scores when I write a lot. That's really all. If I listen to anything in lyrics, man, it just messes my brain up. So I can't. But scores are perfect. And I like listening to anything that I'm working on.
Yeah, right on.
Hell yeah. Michael, thank you for joining us, man. I'm sorry we've been having technical difficulties with the feed, but man, it has been such a great experience chatting with you. I hope that we can bring you back one day and have the full-on experience, and I'll ask you about aliens and all that kind of stuff. But once again, everybody, check out Barbaric. It's coming up. Order it from your shop right now. All these great announcements. Michael, take it home. Anything you want to mention before we dip out, where they can find you on social media, for instance?
At Michael Moreci on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is people who read my stuff, like, Robbie, Brian, both of you, everyone, I genuinely appreciate it. I thank you. Thanks for supporting my work, and I'm glad that everyone, coming along with this journey with me. And we're gonna start a new one with Barbaric, and I promise you, if nothing else, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, it is, y'all. We've read the first issue. It's amazing. Go give Michael a follow and order his book because you are not going to be disappointed. Brian, you got any final thoughts?
No, just want to echo the things. I'm super excited to see. I guess, yeah, I was talking to Robbie before. Like, the fact that you want to keep working on Barbaric makes me pretty excited because, like, I agree. Like, it's been a while since I've read a comic that, like, it's just going to keep coming out, and so that's really exciting. So looking forward to that.
Cool. Yeah, that's the plan. And I want to keep it loose, like, yeah, I guess, there's some like overarching mythology and stuff like that, but it's not formatted in a way. I mean, it's not formatted in a way that like is so rigid, I guess you could say. We're just going to see what happens. And I have other characters of mine and stuff in mind, fun things that I want to do. But I want to keep it loose. I want to keep it fun. And just like you said, I just want to be like those old comics that just start here and then they just go. And then one day they stop. And we'll see when that day comes.
Awesome.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Michael, thank you for joining us. PCP Army, thank you for checking us out. Definitely give Michael's work a check out because Wasted Space, I've been singing its praises for years, and Barbaric is going to be, trust me, it's going to be a big deal. People are going to be talking about it. People are going to be loving it, and you're going to regret it if you don't get that first issue, especially the Conan the Barbarian cover. All right. Well, we are dipping out, everybody. We had a good time. Thank you so much. We're taking a break from Rockin Robbie Live for a little bit, but we'll be coming back sooner than you think. Join us tomorrow night for PCP movie night. This week, guess what movie we're talking about? Well, I didn't set it up, but we're talking about The Shining. Oh, there it is. We're talking about The Shining, the Stanley Kubrick classic. Speaking of haunted house movies, right? That's a fantastic movie. I cannot wait to deep dive into that one tomorrow night. So PCP Army, we'll see you. Thanks for rocking with